Alright, so welcome to the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. Here we're doing a quick walkthrough of where we'll be putting in the water line. So this is going to be going back to the wilderness camp. Gonna have it white flagged here, just one for doing locates and making sure that everything's clear with 811, but also just kind of giving a goal on where we're going to trench. Okay, so welcome back to the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. This is another camp edition. So right now we are working on getting back to the wilderness camp. So we have a trail back that direction that we're going to take. So off that direction we got the water main dug up so we can put a saddle on it that we have fused on here. We'll run the water under a power line or a phone line that he's digging up right now in the Mini. We trenched up to that spot. Right now I'm working on fusing this T valve cluster together. And I already got the saddle fused on this little pipe that will feed under that service. So here's just a time lapse of fusing that saddle on. So use the mini Mac here to get the saddle put on and put the pipe on the other end and put the facer in, get it faced, use some acetone to clean out the iron, make sure there's no oil, put the iron in, heat up both sides of the pipe, and then use the mini Mac to push it together and then just put a clamp on it so it'll hold. Here we're getting all the T's and valves laid out and all the fittings that we need for that. Just kind of make sure that we have everything we need and everything's in the correct location, along with doing some marking to make sure that all the T's line up. Cluster. So have the fittings put on to go back to the CTS. So like most pipe fittings, this isn't all the same size. So you have IPS, CTS. The line that we run is CTS. So basically you have water, so if you look at it this way, you have water from the main coming this way. You have the just the hydrant that they want off that direction, and then this is going off to the wilderness camp, putting a valve in here so you can shut that line off, so if it needs to be shut off for any reason. So in, out to the wilderness, and then to their yard hydrant. And then here, just getting the fittings to get back to CTS on all of those. Okay, so coming back here, this just shows digging up the main. So just use the Mini to dig perpendicular to it, and then quite a bit of shoveling just to make sure you don't get into it. Here, like many places in the camp, we ran into some rock, so got the rock dug out from around the main and got it all exposed. And then just cleaned out the hole enough so that we could back the trencher in and trench the piece in from here to the phone line I mentioned earlier. Okay, so quick update. We've gotten the water main exposed here, have the sidewinder set out, getting ready to fuse the saddle on. Have this bit trenched out. Right up here is the phone line. We got it found, we got it exposed so we can go under it. There's a yard hydrant that went right here, so we're going to put a yard hydrant back in, so there's going to be a valve and T cluster right here, and then have that trenched out. And they're also putting power back to the wilderness camp, so we're going to dig this out. They have a box here already set that ran other power. They're taking that, running it in this ditch, and you're going to put it with the water line. So we're going to put the water line and the wire in the bottom, cover it up part way with dirt, and then put the power on top of that. So here we're getting the water main prepared. So just using wet wipes to get all the dirt off, and then wiping it off to get any moisture and dirt. And then once that's all done, take the device here, the Sidewinder, put it on the main. There's a couple of chains that wrap around it. This straps it to the main so you can then put the saddle on. Ballpark, okay, so you put the facer in there, get it lined up. So you just kind of put it together, make sure it looks pretty good, and you grab the mini mag, and you put it in here, and you let it heat up, and you squish it together. Okay, so you put the smaller iron in here, and you let it heat up. You're just kind of putting light pressure on it, tires that you just put on here that keeps everything together. So we've switched over to the Vermeer trencher. So this was actually kind of on top of a hill, so we didn't run into a lot of rock, so we're able to trench all of this back to the wilderness. Here you can see even with this 1-inch line we can do something similar like we did for the 2-inch where it fed in. This was the end of that roll though. These come in 300-foot rolls. Here we're getting the next 300 feet stretched out. The black line on the side is the power I talked about. The valve cluster and everything up the hill and to the right done. We've got the pipe stretched out to here. Just did this fusion. So these 1-inch rolls come in 300-foot 6 or rolls. So had to do a fusion here. And then he's trenching along. So have one more fusion we have to do, and then take the yard hydrant from behind me and put it back here. So making some good progress, not hitting much rock back here, so this is becoming much more, or it's a lot easier to trench and more like it should be. Alright, so another 300 feet away from where I was at before, did another fusion here, so I got the truck back right up to the ditch so I could get the mini Mac up to it. Did a fusion there, it's cooling, still trenching right along. Back to the wilderness here. And here's just a quick time lapse of putting that pipe together. So before I was able to do it on the trailer and had nicer environment. Here having to do it right next to the ditch, so you just kind of work with what you got. We moved back up to the top of the hill and got the valve cluster put in along with their yard hydrant. So put in a post next to it and wire tied the yard hydrant to the post, and then just turned it on, checked for any leaks, make sure everything was good. And then put stone around the yard hydrant so that it can drain back and won't freeze in the winter. Using the Mini to do some backfilling here. And then backfilling around these valves. Kind of making sure that they're lined up as well as possible on there. Okay, so we got our valves and everything put in over there. Got those backfilled. Here's their power. So we're getting a little bit of dirt on the trench to begin with. And then after that, I'm going to put the power in on top of it and then backfill everything. So he's going to use the trencher to backfill a little bit because he can angle that blade and just kind of walk along and get a little bit of dirt in. And then we'll go back through with the Mini and get everything back in. Here I'm just walking along and making sure that there is sufficient dirt on every spot on the water main so that we're not setting the power right on top of that.
Oops, got right there.
And then we had the power set out next to the ditch, so it fed nicely into the ditch by just rolling it in. And then again, back on the Mini and doing some backfilling near this electrical, and then working down the hill. We had the trencher still sitting there, so just moved it out of the way and continued backfilling down the hill. Since there wasn't a lot of room to be next to the ditch, I just had to straddle it and put it in. This is where they wanted the electrical put in, so just dug a little spot next to the baseboards that they have there so they could put the power in and run it up to that box, and then just filling in around the hydrant that got installed back at the wilderness. So today on the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods, we were able to get down to the wilderness. So we got all the water line put in, got all of the valves and everything put in, got hydrant put in for them up here as well as down there. So just now tracking the machine back to get loaded up and call it a night. So thank you for watching the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods. We'll catch you next time. If you've been liking the videos here at the Schmitter's 100 Acre Woods, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and we'll catch you next time.